From Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, we learn humans are by nature adventurous. Watch a toddler expand his territory a wobbly step at a time. Watch a teenager test curfew. Watch an 80-year-old grandmother sign up for an art tour of Russia. The soul thrives on adventure. Deprived of adventure, our optimism fails us. Adventure is a nutrient, not a frivolity. When we ignore our need for adventure, we ignore our very nature. Often we do exactly that, calling it adulthood or discipline. When we are too adult and too disciplined, our impish, childlike innovator yearns to rebel. Good day to all, and welcome to yet another episode of the Create, Play, Live podcast, where women come together to follow their curiosity to extraordinary lives. Today, I am here again, solo. Unfortunately, my guest had an emergency and at the very, very last minute had to reschedule. And it gave me the opportunity to pause once again and reflect on how it is that curiosity enables me to be in a space of continuing to move forward no matter what. Because what I know for sure is that life isn't all play, is it? Life is often filled with things that we don't expect. So I thought today I would take a minute to simply reflect on this notion of resilience. Since not too long ago, I talked about stick-to-itiveness. What is it that makes it possible for us to have courage when it doesn't feel like we can muster it up? What is it that makes it possible for us to keep going when the days are really, really tough? Not just because we're tired, but because we got knocked down hard, because life threw us a curveball. What makes it possible for us to continue to go inside, to ask and answer the tough questions? And what makes it possible for us to give ourselves permission to rest when we need to rest? And last but not least, what makes it possible for us to connect to others with fullest and deepest compassion and empathy when they need us most? How is it that we are able to communicate from our core, from that deepest part of our being that is the true creator, that is creating relationship, not only with others, but with ourselves? There's a lot there. There's a lot there in this little moment in time when I have an opportunity to reflect. And I recognize that for me, it's a very normal and natural process now to take time to pause, to ask myself the question, what's next? How can I? What else is possible? Actually, those are multiple questions. What's next? How can I? What else is possible? And it's a very natural thing for me to move forward into what are my options? What are the things that I can do now? And what are the possibilities that those things are going to open up? And I also recognize that it's not natural and normal for everyone, because it wasn't natural and normal for me for a long, long time. For me, natural and normal would have been, oh my goodness, let me spin out in some catastrophic story about how awful this experience is, and all of the reflective things into the future that this experience is now going to cause, that are going to create all kinds of chaos and confusion in my life, that are all going to be totally unmanageable by me, and that are going to blow all of my hopes and dreams completely out of the water. That would have been normal for me. And I know that it's normal for a lot of people because we seem to be trained that way somehow. And I think it is because we are trained, many of us, we're trained that life is supposed to be a struggle, that we have to work really hard to have value, and that when bad things happen, the sky falls. And that the sky falls and falls and falls. And we don't have any control over how we respond or react to that because it's somebody else's fault that this has happened. This thing that happened outside of ourselves has now impacted me, and it's totally outside of my control, and I have nothing to do with it, and therefore it's okay for me to have a complete freak out and let everything around me begin to swirl into monster, chaotic, hurricane-like storm. And I realize as I'm saying that I do want to add a little caveat here. It is normal and natural to freak out when things that are way abnormal happen. And it's normal and natural to cry and be sad and to feel hurt and to have all of these emotions well up inside of us. All of that is normal and natural. I am in no way trying to say that we shouldn't experience what that curveball just threw at us and our natural auto response from an emotional perspective. I'm in no way saying that we should shut that down. What I am recognizing, however, is that there's a difference between responding by acknowledging the reality of what has happened in our lives and processing that in a way that allows the emotion to flow through us the same way our creative energy does, that allows that to pass through for us to experience fully and completely that which is intended, that which is human, that which is us with compassion and empathy. And then to give ourselves an opportunity to pause and to ask ourselves, what's next? How does this really shift things for me? And where do I choose to put my energy next? How do I choose to respond to this situation rather than a knee-jerk reaction of crazy making, which is what I described previously in that hurricane-like situation? If you've read The Artist's Way or any of Julia Cameron's work, you are familiar with the term crazy making. Crazy making is all about turning something into an ultra dramatic scenario, allowing all the plates to be flying in the air, and in fact, throwing more into the fire instead of simply observing, experiencing, allowing, accepting, acknowledging, and then choosing a next step, choosing a next feeling, choosing a next experience. And that's not easy to do. It does take practice and it takes support. The other thing that I know is that I couldn't have gotten to a place of recognizing how important this is for me without support. And support came in the form of readings, what I refer to often as affirmative readings. It came in the form of particular authors whose experience spoke to how possible it is to step back for a minute and not jump into the fire when things get crazy. It also came in the form of groups, of in-person group interaction with other people who were struggling to make sense of those made-for-TV movie stories that if you've lived long enough, most of us have lived at least one episode in our lifetime. And now on this side of that experience, I can smile and I can laugh and I can say, wow, isn't it interesting that now I can see that storyline? And if I wanted to, I could actually turn it into a made-for-TV movie. But when I was living it, I couldn't see that. When I was living it, I couldn't even process how to get out of bed in the morning. So what does this all have to do with creativity? What does it all have to do with curiosity? What does it all have to do with tapping into the energy of a child at play? Here's the secret. Here's how it all connects. And I may not be doing the best example of wrapping this all up in a tight, nice, neat little bow, because here's what I know is that life doesn't come at us in a tight, nice, neat little bow. Life comes at us in weird twists and turns and slaps upside the back of the head and people pulling the rug out from under us, or situations pulling the rug out from under us. Crazy stuff happens. Life goes on, and we as humans decide to continue to play in this space. We continue to live our lives, and it's my belief that we're here to try to find ways to live our lives with more joy, not with more chaos. So the creativity piece, how it connects us to being able to lift ourselves above the chaos. The creativity piece is what turns on our joy meter. The creativity piece is what connects us to knowing that the glass is half full, not half empty. The creativity piece is what connects us to the possibility that there's more than a black and white choice whenever we're presented with a new problem, challenge, or obstacle. Curiosity allows us, and practicing in our curiosity allows us to trust and to know that it is possible to find a solution. It may not be the one that we expected. And it may be that our life is forever changed by the circumstance that we were dealt in that moment. It may be that there's emotion tied to it still over time, as you can hear in my voice. And still, the curiosity piece makes it possible for me and for all of you to know that there are ways to move through. And what I love about it most, what I love most about being connected to my creative energy and to that thing that Julia Cameron calls the great creator, you get to call it whatever you like, that energy that's bigger than me. What I love most about being and feeling connected to that is that I know that there will be a potential solution or direction or change, a turn, some other way to look at this that I have not thought of yet. That's what the curiosity piece gives me. Because every time I play, every single time, something happens that I didn't expect, and I learn that I can work with it. I learn when the big old white blob of paint falls out, like you heard Melanie talk about in her episode. You've seen Gail Butters-Cohen and I on our videos and our art lessons, our creative expressions lessons. You've seen us talk about happy accidents. Every single time that happens, there is the opportunity for me to do something that I wouldn't have thought of before to work with it. And that's what resilience is all about. This idea that I can move through and continue to go beyond where I've been, even though what I had expected is not going to be true. Resilience is about riding those waves of change. Resilience is about knowing that waves are going to come and having some tools in my toolkit to make sure that I'm best prepared. It's also about being surrounded by beautiful people who lift me up. That's a lot of what this podcast is all about for me. I'm surrounding myself with beautiful people as I invite people to be my guests. Some of these people I've known for a long time, and some of them I am getting to know on this show. And I am cultivating a library of conversations that are magical, every single one of them. There are nuggets after nuggets after nuggets in these conversations. And I know that I will have these available for me to listen to at any time for a long, long, long time. And so will you, my dear listeners. That is one of the reasons that I do this, is I want these conversations to be alive forever. I want these messages to continue to ripple out, to reach as many people as possible so that everyone has an opportunity to begin to discover their own creative energy so that they too can weather the storms of change, so they too can be resilient, so they too can pick themselves back up when things don't go the way they planned, so they too can see the glass half full and be already thinking about all the ways to fill in the other half, right? That is my wish for all of you. That is the reason I'm here. That is the reason I am on this podcast. That is the reason I continue to move forward no matter what. I have a commitment to you, my listeners, to put out a show, to put out a message. And I also know by my faith in the great creator that nothing happens by accident, that every opportunity that is presented in my sphere is an opportunity that is intended for me to do something with it. So why not make this opportunity be a positive one? Why not allow it to take life, to take flight, to go wherever it wants to go? I didn't script this conversation today. I had no idea that this would happen. And it is truly a cathartic experience for me to be able to sit in my home office with my headphones and my microphone on and look at myself in the camera, which you probably won't see, and have a conversation about things that matter to me. It's a practice. This is like me journaling in the morning, only you get to listen to it. And I think that's pretty cool. And I hope that you do too. Otherwise, you'll just fast forward or turn off this particular episode. And you know what? That's okay too, because I'm certain there will be another episode that will fill you up on the day that you need it to fill you up. Just like some days, there are some episodes of other podcasts that fill me up on the days I need them to fill me up. And I love living my life this way, that I have created an experience for myself that gives me the flexibility and the freedom to have these kinds of opportunities, to have these kinds of moments. And this is a moment that will now be recorded in perpetuity. When I send this off to be edited, to put the intro and the outro on it, and I put it up on Libsyn and it goes out into the podcast interweb, this is a moment that will be in perpetuity. And that's something that is much, much, much bigger than me. And I don't know about you, but those kinds of experiences, they lift me up. They help me to see and to believe that there is so much good going on in the world. And there will be for a long, long, long time. We create in every single moment. It's up to us to decide, to choose. And some of us actively choose, some of us don't. My role here is to encourage you to actively choose. Actively choose joy for yourself. Actively choose to be in this moment with a smile on your face. Actively choose to rest when you need to rest, to cry when you need to cry, to listen to your inner wisdom and let it guide you. And actively choose to let your curiosity lead and follow your heart. That, my friends, is the way I choose to lead my life. It is the way that all of my guests are leading their lives. And we can certainly attest to how much magic that creates. So with that, I will leave you today, send you off into the world to live deliberately, to make choices that lift you up, to play like a child, to create whatever comes into your mind to create, and to always, always, always stay curious, my friends. You are listening to the Create, Play, Live show, where women come together to share how curiosity and creativity lead them to extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Nanette Saylor, and I'm honored to share the mic with some truly amazing women who have asked and answered the question, what if we stop adulting and live every day with the curiosity of a child at play? And these enlightening conversations will invite you to let go of outdated standards, make your own rules, and give yourself permission to play more than ever before. You have the power to create your life. Spend some time with us and you'll learn to see life through new eyes and challenge yourself to new possibilities. We may not solve the world's problems, but we will get you to think differently about your own. Come play with us. Listen and subscribe at createplaylive.com.